Hey, long time no vlog. I'm starting this filming a little bit late though, and I want to go to bed at a sensible time. So this is my attempt at making a short update vlog, I guess. But it's me, so anything could happen. But I know a lot of you maybe don't want to watch my shorts or don't have the time to watch my live streams, and sometimes I talk about things in my gaming live streams which I know are not that popular, and how would you even find it? So things that have been happening, I guess let's go back to before COVID, because that's when my creative life was really stifled. My cousin had been here for almost 5 months. And then for the last 2 weeks, my aunt came from Japan as well. They did go, like in the middle of that, they went away to Fiji for a week, but it's still chaos and all that. So, because my cousin was staying in my studio room, I wasn't able to finish even setting it up. I thought I was going to be able to. That's not how things went. I didn't realize how much stuff she had and that she was going to unpack all of it and fill up every last empty space. So every shelf was filled. There was no way I could finish organizing all my stuff. So, but now she's gone, and I was going to start that process and get back into my creativity, but then I got COVID. I did talk about that in my live stream, and there's a lot, and I don't want to revisit it because it's just painful. Like, there's some emotional stuff as well that came up, and things that happened a few weeks ago, and there's too much going on. So I'm not going to talk about like the emotional trauma, psychology kinds of crap here, but no, like getting COVID, I do think it was partly stress related. That's the stress I don't want to revisit, because I had noticed like my hay fever had been a bit weird, and I thought maybe I was using too much medication. I've got the nasal sprays and stuff, but in hindsight, that was probably early COVID. Then really stressful thing happened. Stress weakens your immune system, and the next night I was having symptoms. The next day I tested a really strong positive. COVID. And I also had my mouth ulcer thing recur. I had that, maybe 5-6 years ago. I started getting, really bad mouth ulcers. It happened twice, the really bad stuff. They were just, all speckly. Instead of, just having one really bad mouth ulcer or a couple, these were, these speckly ones, and they went down my throat as well. So I was having trouble, drinking water and stuff, and I had to go on steroids. And, I was told, hey, if you don't start eating and drinking properly soon, you're going to have to go to hospital, and they'll put you on a drip kind of thing. So I managed not to go to hospital both of those times. But since then, I have recurrences. Thankfully, this one wasn't that bad. It was only on, one side. And, the way that I know is, I had a sore throat, but only on one side, and then I had mouth ulcers, in the inside of my lip, and also underneath my tongue, and under the tongue is terrible, because, I don't know, it feels, I think, maybe where the nerves are in the tongue, my mouth got confused, and so I thought some pain was on top of my tongue, but actually it's under my tongue, and it's awful, and, you use your tongue for a lot of stuff, but you don't really notice until it's in pain. I mean, maybe as a vocalist I do stuff with it, especially doing death growls, trying to shape the sound, but otherwise, yeah, so that was difficult. Anyway, got through the sickness. I spent more than a week in bed mostly, and I had fevers. I haven't had fevers in a long time. That's the most sick I've been in ages. So yeah, I wanted to get back into my creative life, but then I was in bed, and because of, the stressful event, when I was in bed, sometimes I was out of it and sleeping and maybe having strange dreams, but sometimes I was just dead tired, but I was still awake, and my sickness brain going in circles over, all the emotional stuff, and it was just really horrible, and, some of it involved things, well, actually most of it involved things with my parents. The one good thing is, having COVID, I was doing the social isolation thing, so I was mostly staying in my room, and I was wearing masks whenever I did go out, and mostly didn't go out to the kitchen. But, I had that time to just sort of be separate from my parents and not have that stress. So that was kind of good, just, having the space, but on the other hand, my brain was going in circles. I will say, though, I'm trying to do, social distancing, whatever, staying in my room, and, I've got the bathroom there, so I don't even have to share bathrooms, they recommend not doing that. But Dad would still come and check on me, I think, because he was, feeling concerned and a bit of guilt and stuff, and so he'd, stand in the doorway And just like, I'm like, are you trying to get sick? Especially like, you're an older dude and like mom and dad are both older and they both have health issues and it's like you should not be around me. I had to scold him for that. I'm like, who is sometimes I feel like who's the parent here? But I don't know, like at the start of COVID when they thought that touching things was an issue, we had to go out shopping and he was like touching things and there was like these sculptures. And, like, I think even regardless of COVID, it had a sign saying, please don't touch these sculptures. And he wanted to touch them anyway. I'm like, oh my God. Anyway, off topic. I told myself I wouldn't turn this into a long vlog, and it's already 5 minutes, and I don't even know what the point is. Yeah, anyway, the point being, my creativity was delayed, and the first week being in bed and having my brain be like, and then, so then the second week of recovery, it's sort of like I stopped having the really bad like fevers and headaches and it sort of shifted more to some of the coughing and sniffling, and then the mouth ulcers sort of lingered for a bit, and then once the mouth ulcers had healed enough, I was finally able to put my retainers back in. So like OG viewers of this channel would know I had braces for ages. Once I had the braces taken out, because I sing, I didn't want to get a wire put in, and I would have to have a wire top and bottom. I don't need extra antennas to pick up the radio signals in my mouth. So I got the, those invisible aligners, clear aligners as retainers, and I have to wear them at night. I think I can get away with wearing them once a week, but I just wear them all the time because it's just more comfortable that way. But because of the mouth ulcers, I wasn't able to wear them for a week because it's just too much, like, the edges of them rub against stuff and it's horrible. So, putting them back in. Then the first night I put them back in, I actually slept pretty well. I think there's a security because, like, I have these recurring nightmares. I think because I've had so much orthodontic dental work in my life, like not just the early YouTube days, when I was a kid as well, I had a plate and I used to do it got to the point where I could use my tongue to flick it out and spin it around in my mouth and then pop it back in just with my tongue, which was probably a sign that it was getting too loose. But anyway, no, like I've had a lot of that stuff. So I have recurring nightmares of all my teeth falling out or like weird shit happening to my teeth. So I think having the retainers sometimes gives me a sense of security. Because if they're on, it means my teeth are all in place. I think I do tend to like chomp a bit more when they're in there though. And the other thing is I think my mouth is used to having something in there. So if I don't wear them, sometimes my mouth dries out. Although that could have been just like the COVID and all the medication I was taking. I was like taking the maximum dose of Kids Dimetap, the maximum dose of Panadol and Nurofen, just because I was in a bad way. But yeah, when I put the retainers back in, it had been more than a week, so I think that the teeth had sort of shifted a little bit and the tensions in my jaw were all different. And so, yeah, that first night, I slept well, but then during the day I had really bad headaches and they didn't really respond to the painkillers very much. Maybe took the edge off. I don't know. And then the next day was still in pain, and then the day after finally chilled out enough. Thankfully, I made that little short. Thankfully, after I made that short, I didn't get the ridiculous headache. So I think that one night of putting them in was actually enough to get my teeth back into, the right configuration, get my muscles all like, okay, this is what's going on. Wow, did I just go on about teeth for ages? There's this clip that Stephen Colbert did making fun of Trump talking about, like, Elton John, hockey, and brains, and I feel like that's kind of how I approach my YouTubing. I need Stephen Colbert to make a parody of me. But that's actually one of my favorite skits that Stephen Colbert did, because then he did, Counterpoint by a man who's just been hit in the head with a sack of bricks or something, and his acting in that is just, like, really... It's really well done, like... I don't know, as far as those late night hosts go, I like that he's got, like, actual acting chops and, that sort of music theatre performance kind of vibe. But wherever, that's me going on another tangent, so I'm literally worse than Trump. Oh my god. Hopefully the mouth connected to the brain is what he said. What was I talking about? Teeth. Yeah, no, that's the next problem I had, was just getting through that. But yeah, since I've like gotten rid of most of the COVID, it's just been a matter of like my lungs getting back to, because being a vocalist, like I'm very aware of my respiratory system, I guess, and so I can still feel like, even today, I can still feel like a little bit of a tickle of something. So I know it's not quite there. Today, I don't sound too nasally, I don't think. So I think a lot of that has cleared up and it's back to the usual hay fever kinds of things. So I have been able to do a bit more singing practice, and I'm actually impressed with how well my singing voice is doing. I also recorded, so I did put a thing on Patreon where I was just testing a setup, and so there's some like random wailing directionless singing there. But then the next day after I did that, I was recording some vocals for a friend from uni who needed something urgently done. And, I told her, like, I'm still sick. I don't know if I can pull this off for you. But I actually did pretty well. If it hadn't been urgent, we would have waited longer. But it was mostly like the heavy metal growly, not the full on death growl, but like the sort of half distorted, like the Disturbed covers that I've done. It was more that kind of a sound. And actually, like, I was surprised. I was able to keep going for ages. I think it's just like my clean voice still had the nasally stuff that you notice, whereas the half distorted, because it's already distorted, it's all right. So I was like, my even sick, there's still a lot of good stuff going on here. So yeah, I need to get back into singing. I've been practicing and then keeping feelers out for bands. I did make that short, that late night short, about turning my solo project into a band kind of situation, or like a half a band. So sometimes I can still do solo, but then have the option of having a band, and maybe having the band thing going on would just keep me more accountable, give me that extra push to get out there, because I need external things. If it's just up to me, it's too easy to stay home and not do anything. But if I feel like I'm going to be letting people down, maybe that plays into the glass child trauma thing. Like, I have an instinct to want to be helpful, or I don't know. Like, I hate people, but I also feel like I have to help people. Is that why I hate people, though? Because I feel obligated? I don't know. Kind of confusing. Wow. Yeah, no. So I am, like, that is still a backup plan, is if I need to, I could, and I'm just realizing that because I did that recording, I might have changed some of the settings on my little Zoom recorder. But I guess if it was fine for the live stream, maybe it's fine now. Anyway, I'm sorry if this is like either too loud or too soft. Looks like it might be on the loud side, but whatever. Brain, what are we talking about? Are inhales actually harmful? I don't know. Yeah, no, so potentially turning my solo project into a band-ish, with contingencies so that I'm not screwed if the band doesn't work out. That's a backup plan. But I am working on some, like, other band stuff, which is what I would prefer, rather than changing my solo thing. Getting other people involved so that I'm not having to feel like I have to do so much. And, being able to play off other people's ideas as well, because, I don't know, I do find the music side of making music difficult. Like, the singing I can write vocals, although I think there are some issues with my vocal writing, like I can fall into certain patterns, so I need to listen to more stuff so that I broaden what my instinct is in terms of making vocal lines up. What? Yeah, no, like actually writing like guitar parts, because I can't play guitar. Like, I can do drop C chugging, and if you listen to Rainbow Death Ray, our heavier songs, that's drop C chugging, and it's me. And like, I wrote that stuff, and so it's actually quite simplistic. I think like some of the guitarists have thrown in the odd thing, extra thing here, but the basics of it are really simple, and that's not the kind of metal that I want to be playing. So I need like someone who can actually play to be in a band with me to help write that kind of stuff. And also I find writing the music side of things stressful. Like, I like writing vocals, that's kind of fun, but the music side, stressful. So even with my solo project, like sitting down and writing synths and that, stressful, because synths, like, industrial's fine, but I'd rather be in metal. So I'm kind of like making do, and then yeah, writing even the synth stuff has been a struggle. Like, I'm a maths kitten. Um, I was not. I don't really feel like I had natural music feel. I can play the music if it's already written. A bit like how maths already has answers. It's not like, anyway. Yeah, so I'm still looking at a few things. I've been talking to a few people. There's at the moment there's two potential things going on. We'll see whether either of them pan out. But if nothing pans out, then I have my solo project that I can convert into a band. So that's the thing. But yeah, no. I also want to structure like my creative life better, because they say to be creative like consistently, you kind of have to treat it like a business. Now, I don't want to turn it into a business, but I get that kind of logic. So I need to sort of like, I don't know, I need to do it slowly so that I don't overwhelm myself. But for example, with my live streaming, I'm gonna try and do like Stardew Sundays, because on Sundays I clean. That's one routine I have. Sundays I clean. I have a shower, I brush my dog and whatever else he needs. I fold my clothes for the week. I clean my bathroom so that it doesn't turn into a toxic nuclear waste dump. Although nuclear waste is actually quite safe the way that we handle it. But anyway, let's not be a nuclear shill. I also vacuum my room, and if I have the energy, more parts of the house. That way, yeah. Getting confused. Yeah, so depending on my energy levels, like I often don't have a lot of time to do anything on a Sunday anyway, so might as well do live streaming on the Sunday. Okay, so Stardew Sundays. I'm trying to make that a thing. So if you want to watch my Stardew Valley stuff, and sometimes I ramble about things too, Sundays, 8 o'clock-ish, Sydney time. That's the thing. I'm going to try and make that a regular thing. Then I need to think about the rest of my YouTube. Do I just try and upload something every day? Or do I try and structure it better, like, I don't know, Music Mondays, or Fashion Fridays, although I'm not really doing fashion at the moment. I don't know, I've got to think about it. But also, it's not just YouTube. There's also like my actual making music, because I want to do covers. That's a thing I want to do. I need to like figure out when I'm going to do all that. My voice is getting up there. There's just that little tickle, and so I've sort of got to see if that affects the rest of my voice still. But I think I'm doing pretty okay, and then I can get back onto the covers. So that's like music stuff, but also if I'm working with people, writing vocals, I've got to fit in band practice if I'm doing that. Like, just like in practicing the material, not actually going somewhere necessarily at this stage. Also, my visual arts, I need to get back into a routine with that. I used to do that mostly on a Saturday, so I guess I could try and do that on Saturdays. I gotta figure out what my parents' schedule is now, though. They sort of both seem to have settled into going to the gym in the morning, and then they tend to watch TV in the afternoon. But yeah, I need to get on top of what they're doing so I can figure out when's the best day for me to do things. But I think before I can start scheduling stuff, like I've got the studio space, I actually need to finish setting it up. So I have all this like stuff here. I want to organize it, file things away, maybe throw a few things out, and then clear some of this stuff. And then I want to set up like a filming space, whether I clean up my black curtain or put the green screen that Metal Prognosis gave me and just like pop it up there. And then I can use, and then I should also set up a space. Maybe I should set up one of my microphones sort of permanently there, and then set up like my portable gear, my backup gear, because all my studio gear with the studio monitors and the M-Box and stuff, that's all like wired up and in the studio room. So I've got to use my portable setup in here, because this is better for recording. Like in there I can do the production, like listening and composing and whatever, but in here I want to do the recording because it's too noisy in the other one, right next to traffic, bit distracting. Also I think because there's less stuff in there, there's a bit more of an echo, so I do my recording in here. make it look kind of nice for when I'm doing YouTube stuff, but also set it up for when I'm just recording other stuff. So maybe I set up a permanent microphone. I know, I've gone for almost 20 minutes. I'm like, this will be a short one, guys, but no, it's me, so whatever. Yeah, and then set up the portable gear somewhere so I can just, I can just bring my laptop in, plug it all in, and it's ready to go. Yeah, then I'll have that space sorted. Whether or not I start, like, change where the webcam is and use that as a backdrop for filming, but then don't you like looking at the mess behind me? Although if I set up something properly, then I could, like, put fan mail there, the thing Paper Vampire sent me. But I think that would be difficult because I don't know if I would have that up all the time if I'm doing covers, or maybe I could, I don't know, stuff to think about, but mainly just like cleaning this stuff up, putting it away, getting this set up. Then once the studio is set up, then I gotta sit down and think, how am I gonna structure my days? The trouble is, though, yesterday I had a not so good day because I stayed up way too late after Stardew. Like, there were other things that I was doing that I should have just gone to bed and been like, that's tomorrow's problem. But no, I was up way too late, and that's what I've got to try not to do today. So maybe I just don't upload this straight away. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, because I didn't sleep well. Like, I went to bed late, but then I also just couldn't get to sleep. And then, hang on. I'm getting that wrong. I was up late, I did get to sleep, but then I woke up about 4 hours later and couldn't get back to sleep for the next 4 hours, and then had to take another 1 or 2 hours to just, like, get a little bit of extra sleep, but it wasn't enough, and so yesterday I was just really tired. And that, last night I went to bed earlier, took me a while to sleep, and I woke up at 2 a.m. and 5 a.m., but I was able to get back to sleep, and then I was, like, dead to all the noise until, like, 10, I think. Then I woke up at, I got up at 10, no, I woke up at 10, and then I sort of slowly peeled myself out of bed, and at 10:45 I was up and on my feet. This morning, that was a really slow wake up, because Hope didn't help me. Sometimes he comes and he, like, jumps on my face and is trying to lick me, and at that point you do wake up. It's more effective than an alarm clock. Anyway, the point being, I know this was probably caused by me having too much of a late night, but sometimes I just wake up and feel not good, and on those days it's really hard to be productive. So how do I structure my time to factor in those days? Do I set a flexible schedule? Like, I can't just say, like, yeah, we're gonna do Music Mondays, what's something for Tuesdays? Tuesday tunes. That's too much music in one go. Wednesday, whatever. Thursday, I don't know. Fashion Friday, I had this idea for makeup, but it's kind of experimental and I might just make a mess of myself. But I was thinking I could just live stream me making a mess with makeup and, yeah, getting some feedback on whether this is a terrible idea or not, because I'm really bad at makeup, but I had this idea for, like, how I could use my crappy skills in a jazz way and be like, yeah, I totally meant that. But it could be a disaster. I was going to do it today, but I was out with a friend, and I thought, since I actually have to leave the house, it could be a disaster. Maybe I shouldn't, because otherwise I'll be heaps late. Anyway, no. I could try and set, like, this day I do this, and this is what I do try and aim to do at certain times. Like, I could be that structured, but that doesn't factor in the unpredictability of the state that I'm going to be in. So that's a problem. Or, like, so instead of having that more rigid structure, do I set, like, a sort of vague structure and be like, okay, within this week I want to try and get these things done? But the problem is then I might procrastinate and just not get any of it done, especially if I don't set a routine. If I don't set a routine, that can be difficult. So how do I manage that? Or what if I do try and set, like, a rigid routine, like a rigid schedule, but on the days where I'm not doing well, I just ignore it. And then the next day I go back to, so, like, let's say Tuesday, I'm screwed. Just ignore Tuesday. Then Wednesday, just do whatever Wednesdays was. And just do, like, the days that I don't know how to structure my time. So that's what I've got to think about. But I really do need to just clean this stuff up, set things up better. That's the first priority. And then I'll think about how I organize my time. And I know I also did a poll recently, and I'll talk about that at some other point. But this has gone for 25 minutes, which is way longer than I wanted to. And now it's 11 p.m. and I really need to try and get to bed by midnight. I think if I go to bed earlier, then I do wake up early in the morning, but it's easier to get back to sleep before the noise starts up. So yeah, I guess I will set this to upload and maybe I'll just do all the metadata tomorrow. I'm so terrible, like literally worse than Trump. And I really, I should get myself a stadium and just be like, come, minions. You know, I've got to get my cult going properly though before I can do that. Damn. Yeah. Vote for me even though I'm not like American, and so if you're not born in America, I think you can't be the president, but whatever. If I cause enough trouble, maybe I can take over the world and just destroy everything. Join my cult. I'm going to bed. Bye.